up, you guys? Rasati out here in Singapore. Happy New Year. It is the year of the rat, and of course, I chose Master Splinter as my guiding rat for the year. I wanted to jump on here real quick and talk to you a little bit about something that I've been dealing with for the last 3 days, which is why I've been missing in action. I have not put out a podcast episode in 3 days. Terrible, terrible stuff, right? But honestly, you know me already. If there's something going on, I'm not going to put out content unless I feel good about it because I do not want to bring you down. I want to lift you up instead. So anything that I can do to encourage, to uplift, to what is that word? There's a word I'm looking for, man. I can't think of the word right now. We'll just go with encourage and uplift for now. Anyway, so the point being that if I don't feel so great, if I'm kind of like dealing with some things, it's kind of got me down. I do not want to share that energy. It's contagious, and there's enough people out in the world complaining and venting and stuff like that. So it's only when I feel like I've got a handle on the situation that I'll get back on here and talk to you guys. Obviously, my content is very varied. There are so many different things that I talk about, but most of all, the podcast is reserved for my personal journey, the things that I deal with on a daily basis. So that's whether it's ideas that come from client conversations, things that I've read, podcasts I've listened to, or like situations in my home and amongst my friends, so that, I'm trying to teach you what I'm learning as well. It's almost like for me to document for myself, but also to share the information with you. So recently, as you may have gathered, my mom actually left for the States to take care of my grandmother. She turned 102 on the 22nd, which is awesome. That was the last time I did a podcast episode. And in the meantime, I've been dealing with baby girl kind of going through it a little bit. Kuti G is having a little bit of trouble because she got so attached to having someone here, and then now she's upset that that person is gone, and not that she won't return, obviously, but there's a space there. There's an emptiness that comes along with people who come and go. So we're going through it a little bit, and I wanted to talk about that for a moment because I think it's something that people go through, especially around holidays and get-togethers for family. Those get-togethers normally remind you that, hey, there was once this person that used to come to these things, and they're no longer there, or the people are stressing you out or pressuring you into doing something different with your life, changing your life, making your life a little bit better. And those are the things that really stick out in my mind sometimes when I'm going to these events, or at least avoiding events sometimes, as we do, trying to just get through the event itself, like the holiday itself. So Chinese New Year is one of those things. I've been overseas for a very, very long time, and even though I've been back in Singapore for about 6 years now, I still don't really celebrate Chinese New Year the way everybody else celebrates it. And I guess because I really don't, like, I don't go out and do all of those, those reunion dinner type things. I don't really get invited to them very much either. So I kind of just chill by myself at home, and baby girl and I are happy to do that. It's like less stress, less crowd. We kind of just chill, right? And I'm okay with that. But I know that for some people, it becomes this thing where you have to face your family. And it's a time where people, because the family's getting together, they kind of catch up on each other's stories. So, okay, well, where are you in life right now? Last time I talked to you, this was going on. Are you better? That kind of thing. So with that regard, we decided we were going to skip a dinner last night because baby girl was acting up, and I couldn't figure out why, because she was just, it was temper tantrum after temper tantrum, and she's not like that. For those of you who know Kotiji, she is a kind-hearted, gentle soul, and she's very gregarious. She has a great personality, and she's very bubbly and happy most of the time. So for her, like, repeatedly over the last couple of days to just show her temper and just stomp around and be grumpy was out of the ordinary for me, and I was affected by her because I couldn't it took me a second, y'all. Okay, I'm not a master yet. I'm getting there, but it took me a second to figure out where it was coming from. And it was a lot of prodding, a lot of asking questions. And she's the kind of person, if I do ask questions, she's gonna like clam up and pretend like deer in the headlights, she doesn't know what's going on, because she doesn't want to talk about it. But I also know that if I don't ask her, she's not going to think about it, and it's not going to get to that place where she understands where it's coming from either. Because once you name where the pain is coming from, it kind of reduces a little bit. So that's my theory, right? It's a working theory. It's not proven, but so far so good. People kind of tend to roll with it, and it works pretty well. So anyway, push come to shove, and I mean shove, I had to hug her through this, and I had to find a way to get her to talk to me, and it eventually ended up with she had to cry first in order for her to open up and tell me what was going on, which is fine. It was perfectly fine, but I needed her to be coherent as well. So I was trying to get her to cry and speak to me at the same time. It was a little bit of a struggle, but we got there, and eventually she said, I just wish Amama was here. And Amama in Tamil means grandmother, so she was wishing that my mom was home. And obviously I can't change that. That's not within my control. And I know at least for the next 3 months, she's going to be overseas. So it really depends on whether my mom calls us, we call her. How do we keep in touch? How do we make this thing work? But it also reminds me of the fact that when my mom first came to stay with us, which was in June of last year, that was also a struggle. It was like, oh my gosh, okay, well, grandma's here now. Why do we have to do it this way? And why do we have to do that way? And how come we can't do what we were doing before? Like, why do we have to change? So for her, it is a big struggle. It is a struggle to adjust to accommodate someone new coming in, which means a new schedule, a new another somebody to consider when we make plans and how we do things. At first, my baby girl was really upset because we had to watch a lot more Tamil movies, and she does enjoy them, but she doesn't want to be forced to have to watch them every so often. She didn't enjoy eating rice and curry all the time, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a small adjustment. So she was, as I've mentioned many, many times, people handle grief even when there is a change in circumstance. It doesn't have to be that somebody died. It's just that, the old situation has changed and now you have to adapt to a new situation. There's a grief process with that as well. So she went through a grief process where we made space for my mom to be part of our routine so that my mom doesn't feel left out and my mom doesn't feel like, okay, she's a burden on something. That's something that people go through, right? You go into a situation where you weren't there before, people have to make adjustments and you feel badly because you don't want them to have to adjust for you. You want to just be able to exist without any complications or whatever, but that's not the way life is. Even if you were to start dating someone new, right? You have to make adjustments. Or how do you both meet up? How do you adjust your schedule so that you meet each other regularly? Where do you meet? How do you meet? In Singapore, grown adults are still living with their parents and stuff, and that's normal. That's how life goes. So what do you do when you get into a situation where you're living with your parents, you're dating somebody, you're grown, and you want to be intimate, you want to have time where you have space in the house by yourselves, and you can't do that with your parents in the house. How do you go do that, right? So anything that changes, there is an adjustment period. There's a matter of one party adjusting and the other party adjusting as well, so that the both of you can come together and you meet each other regularly. Not a big deal, but it can be. So when baby girl had to adjust when my mom came home last year, it meant that there was going to be a different way of doing things, which means my mom is very much more religious than we are. We're very spiritual. She's very religious. So there's a certain way of doing things in the house. My mom is very strict when it comes to Tamil. So she really makes sure that, baby girl does everything in a specific order every day. She's big on schedule. She's big on order. That's just the way my mom is. It's cool, right? That's not how I roll. I like to play it by ear because I want baby girl to be able to feel like she has a little bit of freedom so she doesn't feel like I'm forcing her to do things, but we still get everything done. I will still get everything done. It's just a matter of, okay, well, you take a break right now and watch one episode of something. We'll come back and do some schoolwork, or we'll come back and do some homework, or we'll come back and read for a little bit. So I break up her day a little bit and it feels like she's gotten a lot done and she gets to learn how to focus her energy on little bits of things at a time and take a break in between. It's like I'm trying to teach her lifestyle skills now, because as adults, we usually wait until burnout before we decide, oh, well, maybe I should take a break. You know what I mean? So there was an adjustment period when my mom came to stay with us. And now that my mom is leaving again, now that we're used to, it's 6 months. I mean, come on, day in and day out with my mom, 6 months of her in the house. It's been cool. And now she's leaving and it's like, okay, we got to adjust again. What do we do now? How do we do things? Where do we go? What do we cook? What do we eat? How do we manage again? And so it's been a little bit of an adjustment period, and she does look forward to my mom because they be playing Scrabble, they be playing Old Maid, they be playing all kinds of stuff, and they have a lot of fun, and I love that. But now it's not a third person in the house. It's just me and her again. And so she's going to get sick and tired of seeing my face. I can feel it, but we need to make sure that we spend time together. So that grieving process has been a couple of difficult days lately. It took me a while to connect the dots. Yeah, like I said, still a work in progress over here. There's no handbook. And I realized once she finally said it out loud, I was like, damn, that's exactly what it is. I knew that because I'd been feeling some kind of way as well. As much as I would love to say, I have freedom now, my mom isn't here, I do miss my mom being around because it gives me an excuse to go do certain things. Like, I don't have to convince my daughter that we need to watch a Tamil movie because my mom would be there. I'd be like, you want to watch a Tamil movie? She'd go, yes. And then suddenly we outvote her, right? It's 2 against 1. It's terrible, I know. But this is how we do things sometimes. So changing the way we eat, changing the way we do things, rearranging how and where we spend our time, especially after school, has been a bit of an adjustment. And the separation anxiety that comes along with someone suddenly leaving you tend to feel like you want to fill that space with someone else instead. But what does that mean? That usually means that at some point that person will also leave, and then you still have to find a way to plug that hole again. What I would rather teach my daughter is be comfortable in the silence, be comfortable with that space, learn to move around that space, to occupy that space with yourself so that you never have to use somebody else to feel like your life is complete. This is where we go wrong so many times. I know people so often when they get out of one relationship jump right back into another because that silence is deafening. They don't know how to handle it. It's just too much for them to deal with on a daily basis. So they try really hard to fill it with other things and other activities. And yes, sometimes that works for a little while when you need to, immediately right after somebody has changed or your schedule or the way things work. Yes, filling it with something else will help. But at some point, you're going to have to face that quiet, that space, that emptiness, because if you don't, it will forever look like this looming thing. And you will always feel like you have to fill it with something or someone. And that's not the case. You are complete by yourself. You are whole by yourself. And it's part of the reason that I didn't date forever. Like, I've been single for 6 years now. And for a girl that spent 15, 16 years in one relationship or another, that's a big freaking deal. Oh, of course, I wanted to fill it with people, and I wanted to, I feel better when I cook for people, and I feel better when I have people in and out of the house. Like, I want people around me, but guess what? I will never be enough if I don't learn to be enough on my own. I will never be able to really love someone and recover quickly if anything changes if I don't first love and accept and appreciate myself on my own. So while separation anxiety exists, I get it, you guys. I have been dealing with it all my life. It's one of my toughest lessons yet. I am learning to deal with it a little bit more because I'm having to teach my daughter about it right now. And I'm also learning to put myself back together as quickly as possible when things like this happen because it's inevitable. Change is inevitable. Like death and taxes, right? No, I'm playing. Change is inevitable. You know something's going to change at some point. God, the universe, whatever you want to believe in, is not going to let you be comfortable for too long because you don't grow when you're comfortable. They need you to grow. They need you to find your way back home. They need you to stand up and shine brightly and really own all of your light so that you can be a light for others. That lighthouse mentality, that's where you need to be. You need to own all of that power. But in order to do that, you have to face your demons. And for me, separation anxiety is a big one. My attachment style is such that I really want to have people around. I like being comfortable. I like steady. I like predictability. I like knowing what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and when I'm going to see you next. And sometimes you don't have that luxury. Sometimes people are going to ghost you. Sometimes people are going to run away because they can't handle it. Sometimes people are going to be afraid of being around so much because they're afraid of losing themselves. Sometimes I'm going to feel the same way. Like, I've been with you so long and I don't know what I'm going to do when you go. So I need to step back a little bit. I need to find my steady pace, my balance. And so these are the things that occur in my thoughts when I go through having to deal with change. And I can only imagine what you guys go through. So if you have any questions, please message me, reach out, let's talk, because I found a way to maintain my balance. And I would be so pleased and proud and honored to be able to help you do the same if you so choose to ask me for help. So you guys, I love you. I'm going to get out of here real quick. I need to run to the store and get some stuff for breakfast tomorrow, but I will catch you again soon. Y'all have a blessed Chinese Lunar New Year, and all the best in the year of the rat. Take care.